Welcome, one and all, back to the Hurdle Podcast. Got Logan, got Bailey to my right. I believe computer's right, maybe left.
I think so.
It's one of the two. He's the opposite of me. How about that?
Yeah.
We're gonna do some NFL recap from a very interesting and almost historic Sunday of football going into Monday, and then we'll give you our Week 4 picks because there's definitely some poopers of games.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the worst games I've ever thought of comprehending.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's a good game every week.
Yeah.
And we're gonna dive into those for sure. Should we start with Thursday night?
Thursday night,
Yeah. Niners Giants. I mean, kind of what we expected with no Saquon, with the
Mhm.
Niners winning 30-12.
Yep.
I think it was impressive that New York didn't really turn the ball over,
Mm-hmm.
but they just didn't put up points.
Yeah. Not a lot of chain movers for New York in this game. Struggled. Honestly, they didn't struggle early on as nearly as much as I thought they would. San Fran's normally a team that kind of comes out and punches teams in the mouth.
Yeah, they start early and they start fast.
Yeah, and they didn't do that to the level that I thought they were going to. But no Ayuk in this game, which hurt them a little bit, especially in the passing game. But Debo took over, had a monster game, and destroyed me in fantasy this week. 6 for 129 and a touchdown. And he's also getting handoffs. McCaffrey, I believe 17 straight games with a touchdown now.
That's so impressive.
Which is insane. So a lot of what I was expecting from San Fran, nothing really changed for them. The Giants O-line still is really struggling when they play great defenses and these great fronts. And you could tell they were trying to double team Bosa just every single. They were blocking 7, blocking 8 a lot of plays, and then you just have no weapons on the field. So
and especially when your best weapons are your running back and he's out. So
yeah,
it kind of felt like that whole game. A lot of it was on Daniel Jones, and
really restricted playbook.
Yeah, and they didn't mix up the play calls that much, which you kind of expect almost
Mhm.
a Dayball offense to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But with no Saquon, it was just kind of like it felt like it was all on Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Which I just in any situation like that's just not how the Giants are going to win football games at the end of the day.
Yeah, it ended up being a really pedestrian offense. But I do have to give credit to the Giants for hanging in there a little bit longer than I thought they were going to. But the end result was exactly what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, exactly. Chargers Vikings.
Yeah.
Bailey, take it away.
Okay. This game went exactly how I thought it was going to.
Just a little less scoring, but yes.
If you watched the last podcast, both teams found ways to lose this game as many times as they possibly could.
Absolutely.
Staley going for it on 4th down, which honestly I actually do think was the right call, but then they do the fullback dive,
which was not
the right call. So it was the right call to go for it on 4th because you win the game. But why they don't go to Keenan there, who already had 20 targets
and a passing touchdown,
and a passing touchdown,
was electric for me in fantasy football this week.
And me in a couple leagues, 18 for 215, 20 targets. He was absolutely unguardable.
It was Justin Jefferson-esque.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. It really was. So he was terrific. Williams was terrific before he tore his ACL and is now out for the year, which is a huge blow to the Chargers, and we're going to talk about that when we preview the next week's game. But Herbert 40 for 47 was flawless.
That's insane. Only 3 incompletions and almost threw the ball 50 times.
Yeah. So yeah, he was absolutely terrific. Maybe I said 40 for 47.
Okay, well still.
But yeah, Cousins 50 pass attempts, almost exactly what I told our buddy Nick going into that game. And then Jefferson 7 for 149 and a touchdown. But Flores did not adjust to anything that Kellen Moore was doing offensively. I thought the Vikings defense looked incredibly stale, incredibly pedestrian to say. There wasn't a ton of switch ups. We kind of just have a base shell going into each week, and we don't really adjust out of that. And it's really confusing. We saw it against Philly, a lot of 3-man fronts, a lot of only rushing 3. When Hurts was dropping back, and you saw Philly's O-line kind of just dominate up front, and Swift had 170 rushing yards in that game. And this game was the exact opposite. I mean, they just let Keenan Allen and Mike Williams just run all over us. And then the double pass, of course, was kind of the big kick in the balls. But I have to talk about the last 50 seconds of this game.
That is the one part of the game I did watch. So yeah.
I have to talk about it. It's some of the dumbest effing coaching I've seen maybe in the last 5 to 6 years. how you manage the clock in that fashion makes no sense to me. I don't understand why you don't spike the ball with 50 seconds
Yep.
left when you don't have a play call. If you don't have a play call, spike the ball. They still had 3 downs. They still were going to have 40 seconds. Time was not a factor for
It
them.
shouldn't have been.
It should not have been a factor for them. And yet they let the clock just drip and drip and drip and drip and then force it to Hawkinson. It's a pick because they took 40 seconds to call a stick play. That's what they ran. They ran a stick play like you see in Madden where you had a slant off the backside and an option route for TJ Hawkinson in the middle of the field. And that's what they ran after 40 seconds of deliberating when they could have spiked the ball and had plenty of time to get Jefferson back in the game, who was hurt. Hawkinson got back after the game after he was hurt 2 plays earlier, or drop a play for Jordan Addison if Jefferson's not getting back in the game. Or if you're going to call a run play, you call back-to-back plays. So that way you can run and no huddle instant into the pass play. And it made no sense to me. It's some of the worst clock management I've seen probably in the last, literally since the Dallas playoff game. Sorry to bring up, but literally since the Dallas playoff game. It's literally the worst clock management I've seen since then, and it's really not even close. Why you don't spike the ball in that situation and give your team not only time to rest, but actually freaking game plan when you're on the 6-yard line instead of just forcing it into a tight pocket like Cousins has been trying to do basically all year. And you can say the turnovers aren't his fault, and they really aren't.
Yeah.
A large majority of them, but when you're trying to fit it in those tight pockets, those balls they're gonna get tipped straight up into the air like volleyballs, and we've seen it happen 2 or 3 times now. We've forced into those areas, and it's just they're drive killers, and it's super frustrating to watch.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think you called it definitely. Like, I think both offenses kind of shined in moments. I think they looked unstoppable at times. The fact that it was 28-24 is kind of surprising. I kind of agreed with you. I thought it was gonna be closer to like a 45-42 game, like high score.
30s,
yeah. I think the big thing for me was, I know it didn't count against him. Alexander Madison can now hold on to the football. Like, I don't get how you trade for Cam Akers this week in an offense that he ran in LA and not at least throw him out there and see what you got. Like,
only 3 days. Only 3 days of prep.
Baker did it in a day as a quarterback.
He did.
That's what I'm like. I just don't get how, after that almost fumble, like, I think you would almost have to turn to him and be like, hey, let's get you a couple carries and see what we have. They just didn't mix it up in the backfield, which I don't think you needed to do necessarily. But like, when you have a team on the ropes like that, and again, a close game, if that's a turnover, that game's a double digit loss. Like, it's
definitely a problem.
The ball security for Minnesota has been an issue the first 2 weeks. It translated into this 3rd week. And I don't think you can really say a lot of it is on Kirk Cousins. Again, it's kind of the play calls they're designing, and he has the weapons. So why wouldn't you throw up a one-on-one or a guy that's even double teamed in Justin Jefferson's case and let him go make a play because he has the weapons?
Yeah.
And that's what that offense is kind of designed to do. I think I totally agree. In the last 50 seconds of that game were just frustrating, to say the least. If I was a Vikings fan, I'd be very frustrated, especially when you have an offensive-minded head coach, Kevin O'Connell, who
lots of expletives were thrown out there.
Exactly. And it's just, he knows what he's doing, and in that moment, I don't know what the heck he was thinking.
Spike it?
Why don't you spike it, reset? You're gonna have 3 downs and 50 seconds.
I don't even know if that's on O'Connell. That's got to be Cousins' clock awareness and saying, A, we don't have a play call. B, why don't we just go spike it so we can get 1, if not 2 play calls if we'd like to run the ball. So,
but like
especially against the Chargers front,
yeah,
really struggled because Madison, like you said, he fumbled a couple times, but almost had 100 yards rushing. This is the one game where I expected Minnesota to be more aggressive up front, actually get run gaps, hit the holes harder, and they did for most of the game, and it paid off because it still had to throw 50 passes.
Yeah.
Which is a problem.
And you're not going to win a shootout against Justin Herbert.
No.
It's just not going to happen. Colts Ravens. Colts get a win 22-19 into overtime. I think the big takeaway, the Ravens had way too many injuries and still almost found a way to win. I mean, they had 8 starters that were injured. And I think the Colts looked fine. The defense looked really good. Minshew looked okay. I think once they get AR back and hopefully healthy, like, I think that team could be very scary, especially looking at the rest of that division that's just been kind of subpar at times, specifically Jacksonville. So it almost feels like this division is almost open for the Colts to kind of grab as long as their quarterback can stay healthy.
Absolutely. I mean, the way Jacksonville played this week, I mean, the division as of standing right now, there's not a team that's taking over it, and everyone going into the preseason expected Jacksonville to hold that spot firmly, and they're sitting at 1-2 through 3 weeks right now, after a offensive struggle fest against KC and a defensive masterclass on how not to play defense. Week 3 against Houston. So with the Colts right now, getting this win is huge. Matt Gay, 450-yard field goals, first kicker to ever do that.
Dog, go Utes.
Honestly, I think this is more worrying for the Ravens for me than it is exciting for the Colts.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Granted, like you said, 8 starters out, but I think the big takeaway is Lamar had 100+ rushing yards on great efficiency. I think he only had 16 carries, somewhere in that realm.
Which is all you can ask for, especially when you have rushing.
14 carries, 101 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
He was their offense.
But there was no passing game this time. And granted, conditions didn't help. But there's got to be, like, we expect Todd Monken to come in and rejuvenate this passing game, give a completely new arrangement, more spread out looks.
Especially with the weapons.
Flowers got only 10 targets, he got 10 targets, but 8 for 48, only 6 yards to catch on that. You got to be getting more explosive plays. Andrews was limited in his production. Now no OBJ, so they're trying to find a better deep threat. And I think Andrews is that. Why they didn't use Andrews in that fashion kind of shocked me, especially because even though Shaq Leonard is a fantastic linebacker, he's not a great cover backer.
No.
So he's much more of a run support kind of guy. And for the Ravens to eat on the ground like they did and still not win this game, I think is worrying. But like I said, 8 starters out, and we'll see how they roll in the next week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, the PI call, the missed PI call was brutal because Baltimore would have won the game off that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Again, I think Baltimore looks fine.
Mm-hmm.
With that division right now, the way it's looking, I think they can afford a game like this. You can't afford that game later in the year, especially within like divisional games.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of injuries. The conditions were not in their favor for what they're trying to make that offense. But what that offense has been, that the weather was perfect for it.
And it worked.
And it worked. Other than the passing game was just subpar.
And it was really formative, I think, was the big takeaway. Especially because the Colts are coming off losing Stephon Gilmore. They don't really have a replacement corner there, and still have Kelly Moore, I believe. But after that, they're not deep there in that position. So for your receivers to not be able to take advantage down the field like they're supposed to be able to, I think it's really frustrating for Baltimore fans. But I agree, not worried.
Exactly. Browns Titans.
I don't have much.
How do you only give the ball to Derrick Henry 11 times?
You lose for most of the game. They're playing catch up a lot.
Yeah, and Ryan Tannehill has 104 passing yards.
Yeah.
Half the D-Hop.
Which doesn't say much.
And it's only 3 D-Hop catches, so Ryan Tannehill had 10 passes for roughly 50 yards.
Yeah. Much like Baltimore, extremely conservative. Vrabel did not come with them. They need a new OC, I think. It's really slow. They clearly need a new quarterback. Tannehill has been brutal through 3 weeks. I don't even know. Does he even have a passing touchdown through 3 weeks?
Tannehill?
Yeah.
He has
one.
One passing touchdown, 3 interceptions.
Yeah. So his play has been beyond subpar.
Worst QBR. He's 32nd.
32nd. So and Derek Carr and Winston have played. So
and Zach Wilson's played.
And Zach Wilson has been played. Yeah. Oof. So really rough start for Tannehill this season. I expect Will Levis or Malik Willis probably by week 6.
I would say going after the bye. I don't know when Tennessee's bye is, but I would expect about the bye week.
Yeah. He's been really poor so far, and this offense has been really poor. Derrick Henry is averaging more than a full yard per carry less than he does on average for his entire career. And it sucks because he's legitimately healthy. And Tennessee's O-line is not worth a damn. Cleveland right now has the best defense since 1999 through the first 3 weeks. That includes the 2000 Ravens. So they're on pace to be legitimately one of the best defenses of all time. But I guess, again, that's only through 3 weeks. But just the way Cleveland's looked so far, their run game looked fine. Jerome Ford only 10 for 18. That sucks. But I think once they get Kareem Hunt back into the system, they should look better. We'll see how Kareem looks because it's been really weird with these former superstar backs. Like Dalvin's looked really bad so far. So
And like Zeke's looked fine.
Zeke looked fine. He's looked better behind that New England line. Granted, the Jets have a freaking terrible O-line, but yeah, the Browns were dominant up front. Their passing game is still suspect to me.
They
But
look fine this
when
week.
Deshaun doesn't throw the ball backwards, he's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the ceiling where this Browns offense goes, where Deshaun Watson can take them now. They have the weapons. Donovan Peoples-Jones is a fine WR2. Amari got wide open on a couple plays, had a touchdown, got revoked. That should have been a touchdown, and then got it back later with a 43-yarder, I believe. Really worrying for Tennessee how this run game has looked so far, but I wasn't thoroughly impressed with Cleveland's offensive ability either, even though they cruised to a win.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think you finally got to see what this offense could be, passing wise with Deshaun Watson. I think it was fine. A couple big plays here and there, but a lot more conservative throws, which you kind of expect almost when you have a run game. But now they don't have that, so it's like you gotta get those big plays. They got that in this game. I mean, he only had 6 incompletions, damn near 302 touchdowns, no picks. Obviously, that's kind of inflated with the 1 touchdown to Amari Cooper, but like
should have had the other one to
exactly. Didn't turn the ball over.
Yep.
They played a clean game of football, and Deshaun Watson looked better than he has almost any games that he's played with the Cleveland Browns.
Mm-hmm.
Against a defense that's fine.
Yeah.
Like
their front seven,
the safety.
One of the reasons why Cleveland's run game was so bad is because Tennessee is legit the best run-stopping defense in the league right now. The stats will tell you everything. Cleveland's too. So that's why you saw absolutely freaking terrible yards per carry. So
yeah, exactly. All right. Broncos fans, you can skip ahead.
Yeah.
Miami wins 70-20. You heard that right. 70 points. They beat an NFL professional football team by 50 points. My question is, why don't you go break the record if you're Mike McDaniels? Because you were their ball boy. They didn't want you as a head coach. And you could say, man, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
And that's his mentality.
That is.
I would love to see it.
I don't know. I also wanted them to get the extra 6 yards and bring the starters in on the last drive to get the extra 6 to break the yards record too. I mean, we're talking historic numbers. I believe the first team ever to pass for 350 and rush for 350.
We don't gotta talk much about Denver. Let's talk Miami.
Yeah, I never played so bad defensively.
I was gonna say Russ fine.
Literally the worst defensive performance I've seen in my life. And I've watched Vikings games for the past how many years now?
And I've watched Cowboys defenses before Dan Quinn got there.
That's true. So literally the worst defensive performance I've seen in my life. Isn't Vance Joseph their DC too? Like former head coach?
Former head coach of the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
That's the reason he's a former head coach. But they don't come back.
He's about to be a former DC. But Jesus Christ, Miami ran train all over these guys. As we expected, the spread was only 5.5 coming into this game. It would have been better odds if it was 55, by the looks of it. Couple of takeaways. A-Chain looks phenomenal. Granted, he played
A-Chain. He
Is
came
that-
out
that's
and
it.
he came out and said
A-Chain.
A-Chain.
It's A-Chain. Okay. Is it so? It's Devon A-Chain. Okay.
A-Chain.
So it rhymes. Interesting.
Yeah.
But
Drop
he
the bar.
he looked phenomenal.
This running game looked phenomenal.
Is so explosive and so quick that even when Mostert runs a 4.31, when Mostert went off the field, A-Chain came into the game. I was blown away. With not only the holes they were getting up front in this West Coast McDaniel scheme, but how many guys he was making miss, and he was breaking every run, it seemed like, for 40 yards. Everyone, you just look down, you watch I watched literally the entire game. Well, we had like 7 games going at once, but I would glance down, and it's just him breaking another 30-yarder, and the holes are so open, and he's just making people miss. He was terrific. Mostert, terrific. I believe 8 total touchdowns between the two. Because
6 rushing,
Yeah.
and probably 2 receiving.
5 rushing, 3 receiving. So Mostert was 7 for 7. Tua was perfect through the first half. Didn't break until like 10 minutes left in the third on a deep ball to Tyreek. Not honestly, there's really no takeaways except for the fact that Miami is off to the hottest start I've ever seen any team.
Feels like a
Since
wagon.
the 07 Patriots.
Yep.
They look disgusting. This offense is literally unguardable. All the miscues that they were having last year in terms of motion, because there's so much motion in this
A lot of
McDaniel
movement.
offense, so much speed moving from side to side across the sidelines. They were getting a lot of false start penalties. It's a lot of hard counts. And they were just kind of beating themselves up a little bit, especially when Tua went out and then everything kind of went off the rails. Now they're playing so clean and so well. This offense has clearly had time under its belt. They clearly worked all off season on it,
Exactly.
and they look so good, so good.
They look so unstoppable right now.
It's unguardable. It's literally free yards with how this offense moves. Once someone is open, it's schemed to perfection because once you get, and no Waddle in this game, but once you get Waddle, Hill, Mostert, Achon into wide open spaces, their speed just takes over, and it's just 3 yards after catch. It seems like after every single ball. First touchdown of the game, Tyreek Hill, 20-yard post route,
Yeah.
takes it 63 yards for a touchdown. Jesus Christ, these dudes are unstoppable.
Yeah, no, and it's kind of a fun narrative because like I'll throw it to like when we rec football or whatever, like up here at MSU, whatever team has the track stars
Yeah.
wins every time.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like that's what Miami's building right now is a track team
Yeah.
to just like you can't teach speed and like try to stop us because speed kills. It clearly did in this game. Like even with PS2, who's we think one of the better corners in football,
Yeah.
had no answer. And I know he can't do it all, but he had no answer for what Miami was dialing up his way.
Yeah, and Denver got no pressure up front. Every pass Tua made was clean.
Yeah, he did not get pressured once.
It's you couldn't draw up a better game plan or a better way for a game to start and continue on throughout. They played literally perfect football.
Yeah, and then Denver.
I really have nothing to say.
Yeah, you tried.
Didn't look like it.
Barely. The offense looked okay.
Cortland Sutton had a crap ton of targets from them trying to catch up. I need to see more Judy in this offense, I would say.
Yeah.
And I need to see more pass work game from Javonte.
Yeah, especially out of the backfield.
Especially out of the backfield. Like, Peter Ryan's just not getting it done. And Javonte, you brought him in as a second-round pick, if I remember correctly, to kind of be your superstar back. And I know he's still coming off the torn ACL thing. He's trying to work himself into a new system. But there's no reason he shouldn't be an Alvin Kamara-like player in this offense. Not to say he's better than Alvin Kamara. He's not. But just to fit that kind of role, because he can catch passes. So for him to be only getting like 2 to 3 looks a week in a check down game, which if you have that, that should help Sutton and help Judy deeper down the field.
I mean, and that's what he did at North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, because they had who's the quarterback there? Was it Trip? No, it wasn't Trubisky.
No, after Trubisky, Sam Howell.
Sam Howell, and that was kind of like Sam Howell's MO.
Yeah.
And it kind of shows what he's doing in the NFL, which we'll get to in a minute. Okay, next game. Damn, it was so close to being the next one. Patriots, Jets.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
These offenses suck.
Knew that.
These defenses are pretty good.
Knew that.
We knew that. Oh, I forgot. Zach Wilson sucks at playing quarterback.
Knew that.
I also knew that. Holy shit, this game is like we knew what was going to happen. Low scoring, no offense, and the Patriots would win because they don't have Zach Wilson.
Yep. Exactly.
You want to add anything?
No. Zeke looked good. I love that.
Fine, yeah.
16 for 80. I'm very interested. They went really run heavy this game, New England did. I think they just wanted to limit the amount of mistakes Mac Jones could make in this game because literally mistakes lose you this game. The amount of mistakes in Zach Wilson.
We saw it last year
Yep.
when the game was 3-3.
Yeah.
And the one mistake either team made was the coverage on the punt return.
Yep. Yeah, mistakes lose you the game. So the one mistake here for the Jets is the 56-yard touchdown to Farrell Brown. And the Patriots just they made mistakes offensively, but they just All they had to do was get in the lead and hold it. And that's basically what these matchups come down to when you have Zach Wilson at quarterback. Once you're in the lead and you force Zach Wilson to make plays, the Jets are screwed. So just once you get the lead, and if you have a good enough defense, you should win 95% of those games.
I think the one thing I do want to touch on though, and it's been brought up this week, is like clearly this locker room looks divided because of the play of the quarterback. And like I get it, like Rodgers was supposed to change that, but like he's not there right now. He's rehabbing in California. Like he's not in the building. He's not in New York.
Yeah.
So you kind of lose that veteran quarterback presence to, I don't know necessarily calm down Zach Wilson or like be the leader of this team. But this feels like the same old Jets of last year. It's getting to that point, and they were relying on Aaron Rodgers to be the savior, clearly.
Yeah.
And guess what? You don't have him for the rest of the year. So it's like, I don't know what change needs to be made, but clearly these guys are not behind Zach Wilson.
2 points on that. Totally agree with you. Guys are not behind Zach Wilson. And I think you're kind of seeing that come forward because Saul is coming out every week and basically I would say Zach Wilson's our guy. And he's kind of having to like praise him even when he's playing bad. And players
Playing
know
terrible.
BS. Zach knows it's BS, but they're kind of having to just force feed that to the media to keep the tempers down. And what it's really doing inside is raising. So I think veteran comfortability is a huge point here because when we looked at, even though it's really small, the Hall of Fame game, Jets Browns, Rodgers calling those plays and just being able to even just be on the mic and just kind of help them through. And you know how they go to the bench, they break out the surface, they read the defense, right? Rodgers would be such a help for that. Not to say Zach Wilson would go from being the 32nd best starter in the league to like the 15th, but he would go from like the 32nd to maybe like the 26th.
I was gonna say like 25th. Like.
Yeah, and that could win the Jets 1 or 2 more games over the course of the year because that's how much quarterback play matters. So I think just not having Rodgers there as a presence on the sideline is a huge loss. And I think those two things kind of weigh in. Also, quick question. How long do you think Rodgers would have lasted without an injury with this Jets O-line? Say he doesn't get hurt.
Say he doesn't get hurt week 1. I think that's something I think that's something that's being overlooked is like he had such a great O-line all his years in Green Bay.
Yeah.
And this O-line, I don't care how much they've invested in it, is terrible. Like I get it, Zach Wilson is not a good quarterback.
Yeah.
But how could you be when you have no time in the pocket and you have to improvise? It feels like every damn play you're in the shotgun or under center. He's under center. If you run a play action, you're screwed. Yeah. Like there's defenders in your face, and New England took advantage of that.
The run game's trash too.
The run game is terrible. I think, to your point, I think Rodgers gets hurt. I think by week 4, I don't know if it's as serious as like the torn Achilles, but he would have been out for some time just because at the age of 40, you can't be taking some of these hits that a young 22-year-old Zach Wilson is taking as a 40-year-old quarterback. That's just not how that works.
There's a reason you tagged Bakhtiari in that story.
Exactly. And it's like he knew what was up. He knows what they need.
And he had over a decade's work with literally the best left tackle in the league, covering his ass end.
Yep.
And allowing him to make plays, and that's a huge luxury he doesn't have anymore.
Yeah, I think the big thing that does get overlooked is the Jets' offensive line. Like I get it, the quarterback play's not good. Yeah. But like, I don't know a lot of quarterbacks that could even perform decently well with how bad that offensive line is. Because you see it in the run game. They should have been able in this game to lean on the run game, and they just couldn't because the holes weren't there and the line wasn't blocking.
Yep.
All right. Bills Commanders. Sam Howell threw 4 picks. Josh Allen looked fine. He looked great. He looked fine. The Commanders' defense is good.
Yep.
Yeah.
The biggest lock every year going into these games, the biggest lock every year is the Bills beating up on trash teams. They do it
the Raiders,
every year with
the Commanders.
Such
they'll do it to the Jets.
Distinct clarity. They let you know that they're about to come out and just thrash bad teams. They do it again. Howell 4 picks. Screw you, Buffalo defense, for killing me in fantasy in literally every single league I'm in.
Hey, at least you didn't play Jacksonville's.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I mean, I have literally no takeaways. No takeaways.
Yeah, I was gonna say game was pointless. Next.
Still no James Cook in the red zone. I will say that.
Yeah.
A lot of Damian Harris, a lot of It's kind of like what you're seeing in Detroit a little bit, where you got a lot of Gibbs outside the 20s and a lot of Montgomery. Or a couple of years ago, we had Swift outside the 20s, and Jamal Williams in the red zone. That's a lot of that kind of action, or if not, it's Josh Allen running it in himself. So I'd like to see more James Cook in the red zone, but that's about it.
Yeah, exactly. Next game, Detroit, Atlanta. I mean, if you can shut down Bijan Robinson, you can shut down this Atlanta football team.
Yep.
I think it's as simple as that. Bijan has 10 carries for 33 yards. They kind of used Kyle Pitts, 5 for 41.
9 targets though.
They're targeting him. They're kind of letting Desmond.
Not downfield, but they're targets.
They are targets. I mean, Desmond Ridder had to throw 38 times, so they were down this whole game.
That's how you beat Atlanta.
If you make Desmond Ridder beat you, it's like with the Jets.
Yep.
You make Zach Wilson beat you.
It's exactly like the Jets.
And Detroit, I think, played great defensively. I think Jared Goff in the offense, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Goff had a pick that I don't think was really on him, if I remember correct.
I believe you're correct, yeah.
So I think Detroit looks fine. I think Detroit is looking as good as I think we thought they would be coming off the Seattle loss.
Yep.
They just played consistent football. They were pressuring Ridder the whole game, and they shut down Bijan, which is their whole offense.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, if Zach Wilson is here, Desmond Ritter's like right there.
It's just because we haven't had a full year of Desmond Ridder.
Yeah, he's not good.
No.
So when you make Ridder throw 36 passes, this game is going to completely flip on its ass end. And Detroit took advantage. They got up early. They stayed up 13-3 going into half. And it was kind of just over from there. The Laporta blown coverage, 11 targets to Sam Laporta, I think is a huge thing.
Because they're utilizing him kind of like Hawkinson did.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. He got 5 targets the first week, 6 targets the next week. Now he's up to 11. You're going to see him continue, I think, to be a major piece of this offense, especially with Ben Johnson staying around. Gibbs had a lot of empty yards, not nearly as targeted in the pass game. That's because they were up the whole game. That's kind of just a game script. If you get up on Atlanta early, you're going to bury these guys. And their defense is not nearly as good as New York's, which is why I bet the under on Atlanta's 8.5 on here. I don't think Ridder's a good quarterback. And I think even though they're 2-1, I think they should have lost the Green Bay game.
They really should have lost the Green Bay game.
And who'd they play week 1?
Carolina.
Carolina.
That game you win.
That game you win because Carolina is literally one of the worst teams in the league. But I think not to foreshadow a ton, but Atlanta's going to be on a quick down slope here soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Green Bay, New Orleans, very, very interesting game. Saints go up 17-0.
And lose their car.
And yeah, lose Derek Carr, and then Jordan Love said, all right, okay. Let's see what we can do. Literally the second the Derek Carr injury happened, I knew Green Bay was going to come back because Jameis Winston would then be quarterbacking the New Orleans Saints. And they don't have Alvin Kamara back yet. They'll give him back this week, which is going to be a huge boost for them, I think. But I think Jordan Love being able to come back down 17 against this New Orleans defense kind of shows you a lot. I know he didn't have a great completion percentage, but he was running a lot more than I thought he would.
Yeah.
In this game, they come back and win it. I wouldn't say. I mean, it's impressive coming back down 17. But after a team loses their starting quarterback that they invested so much in, it's kind of a gut punch, especially to the offense.
I was surprised how quick the New Orleans offense staggered because Winston being there for 3 years, I thought the transition would be a lot smoother coming into this game, and he kind of just. Granted, I'm sure he wasn't exactly ready to play, but because you just don't come into that week with that full preparation.
Yeah.
That and the total mindset that you're going to play, and kind of throwing you out there, it's a tough spot to be in, especially when you're spotted at 17 points. But for New Orleans to go punt on the first 5 drives with him in there, and then get into field goal range, and then this is why you don't trade kickers. This is why you don't
trade kickers.
That cost them a win. So they traded Will Lutz for like a 7th round pick or some garbage. And it turned around and just bit them right in the ass, and they're taking a loss for it in a game that really they dominated 90% of.
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
Yeah, so tough loss for New Orleans, but shout out to the balls on Jordan Love to come back in this game. No Aaron Jones, no Christian Watson, literally missing your 2 biggest pieces, and you're just Still letting your playmakers make plays, still having the
Dobbs
pace of
played
those guys.
great.
Dobbs is great.
I love Luke Musgrove in this offense.
Do you?
I really like him in this offense because it kind of feels like they haven't had a dominant tight end since like a Jimmy Graham. I'm not saying he's a Jimmy Graham, but he finds ways to get open.
Mhm.
And he gets Jordan Love those easy checkdowns, those 10 to 15 yard pass plays over the middle. I really do like him in this scheme. I don't know what it is about him.
Yeah, the guy I was going to turn to was Jade Reed.
Yes, Jane Reed is, yeah.
Jane Reed's been electric for them, filling in for Aaron Jones because AJ Dillon has been trash filling in for Aaron Jones. He's been so bad.
He's showing why he's just a backup. And
Like that's why he's a change of pace back.
Yep.
So for those playmakers to step up later in the game, I think is huge for Jordan Love's progression. The fact that he can, the fact that he can have the trust in these not lower level receivers, but your wide receiver 2, 3s, and 4s, your second tight ends, and just have the ability for them to go make plays and come back and win this game is a huge boost for Green Bay going into Thursday night.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this also shows why having a good offensive line really helps. Jordan Love was not
That's why you keep Bakhti up.
Yeah, like he was not pressured much from Cam Jordan, which I kind of almost thought he would. They kept him relatively clean. Yeah, I don't know. I think Green Bay is an interesting one because they get in these holes, and I think their defense is good. I don't think they're bad by any means, but like you let New Orleans get up 17-0 on you, you let Atlanta put up 25 on you, like it worries you a little bit. But it's almost kind of like we have Jordan Love, so I feel like they almost feel like they're always in a game.
Yeah,
which is good for a younger quarterback to have going.
Absolutely. One thing too, I will talk about it before.
Getting ahead of yourself, kid. Tennessee. Houston, Jacksonville.
Not what I was expecting.
I sure shit wasn't expecting it. I really don't know much about this. Tank Dell and Nico Collins. I was dogging the weapons they gave CJ Stroud. They've looked fine.
Yep.
Their offense has honestly looked okay these first couple of weeks. Like, not a lot of turnovers from Stroud.
37 points.
Yeah, and you put up 37 on a Jacksonville defense that I had so much confidence in. I picked him up in fantasy. So that was a miss. T-Law kind of just felt like he was off the whole game. I felt like there was a lot of pressure in his face at times, and he kind of had to make some quicker decisions I don't think he would have normally made if he has a cleaner pocket.
Yep.
Again, like we mentioned earlier, Tennessee, with all these teams being like 1 and 2, and now Indy being the 2-1 team on top, like this division we thought was all Jacksonville's. In these first 3 weeks, like other than like having to play Kansas City, it's like they haven't really played anyone crazy, I feel like.
Yeah. And
they've looked subpar in all their games.
Yeah. I would agree. I mean, Lawrence has looked shaken for the first 3 weeks. I think with the slight exception of week 1, for the Ridley thing to have such setbacks after how clean they looked week 1 and how aggressive this offense was, for them to look how they're looking right now, I think it's just really weird. I mean, no Zay Jones, but like that should not be a big benefit, like a big hurt to this team.
No.
They still have Christian Kirk. They still have Evan Engram.
You played good.
But yeah, he played good. But this offense looked not good at all. And Houston's offense played clean football. Stroud played fantastic. He's been the best rookie quarterback so far, and I don't think it's even close. He's played really, really good football, and he's anticipating, but he's anticipating in a good way. So what I mean by that, those slant routes over the middle that are tight windows, he's throwing them before they're open and leading receivers into spots and windows. He's been really impressive to me so far, and they haven't even had Tunsil on the left side for him yet. I believe he's coming back this week. So I think that's huge. And, I mean, Houston gets the fullback kickoff return. Flukes like that happen in these kind of games. I'm still not incredibly worried about Jacksonville, but I think defensively is a huge takeaway that I had here, especially because Houston hires DeMeco Ryans, not a very progressive offensive head coach, much more of a defensive Tampa 2 oriented kind of guy. And they kind of come in and they just throttle Jacksonville handedly. Big surprise.
Yeah, exactly. I think it'll be a good show week 4 for Houston.
Yeah, the Texans.
The Texans, with their matchup. But yeah, I'm interested to see what Jacksonville does from here. Again, I kind of agree. I'm not worried about the offense. I am worried about that defense right now, just because they've allowed a ton of points, and that's made T-Law and this offense try to play catch up, which there's not built for right now.
Yeah.
Seattle, Carolina. I mean,
Dalton threw 58 passes.
yeah, and so here's again, they're playing catch up in
Right,
the game.
58.
Yep, 58, 34, 58, 361 and 2. Look, I'm not gonna say it. I don't know how Andy Dalton throws almost 60 times for 361 and 2. But I think this is the most points Carolina has put up in like 5 years since Cam. Who the hell thought it'd be Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, to do it? Granted, in a game they're playing catch up with against Seattle the whole time, but like for some reason their offense looked fine.
Their offense was not the worry. I was not expecting them to bring in like 36-year-old Andy Dalton and just be like, let's just sling it.
Yeah, screw it. Like let's just toss it around. Damn, you almost got his age. He's 35.
And yeah, for them to just be slinging the ball around like they were.
Like Adam Thielen had himself.
Trusting his receivers. And Adam Thielen, I think, is going to be huge for the continual progression of Bryce Young, just because he's so consistent, and I think safety valve is kind of a deterring term for him because he's much more than that.
Yeah.
He's not just a 3-yard check down guy. He needs to be there 15-yard over the middle. I know this dude's going to catch it with tight coverage guy.
Yeah.
And I think for them not to have the trust in Young, that they had the trust in Dalton to throw it 58 times and just slinging balls into holes where they're not scheming those things for Bryce Young. Everything for Bryce Young, all the Thielen plays are receiver screens, and then they throw Dalton in there. Granted, they're losing this entire game, but Carolina's been losing every game all year. So for them to throw Dalton in there and be like, yeah, let's just sling it to Dalton on design Texas plays over the middle, which is how he scored his touchdown. He runs this little hitched post, and they just throw a 14-yard laser right over the middle, and they score. I was stunned. So their run game looked better. The offense straight up just looked better. Now, Carolina's defense is still trash without J.C. Horn. Brian Burns and Jeremy Chin can't do everything.
Yep.
And C.J. Henderson has been a penalty just monster over the first couple games, and he's just been getting absolutely killed, even though I still like him as a player. But
exactly.
And he's a compliment.
And what, Shaq Thompson's also out, so he's like
he's out of the year.
Yeah, he's that leader on the defense, so that's a big blow for them. I mean, yeah, Seattle looked fine. They put up points.
For them to go up 27 to Carolina, I think is kind of a
their defense is a little concerning right now.
Is a question mark, but for Seattle, I Kenneth Walker had himself a game.
Yes, sir.
And I kind of like the balance. I wish there was more Lockett in this offense. It's been kind of questionable for the first 3 weeks, kind of just like the limited targets that he's gotten. Granted, he had the one huge game against Detroit.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's got to have more than freaking. I mean, he had 7 targets, but 3 for 34. I think he could be more present. I think JSN could be more present. But outside of that, I mean, Kenneth Walker's just been electric for them offensively, especially in this game. When he breaks off the big plays, that's when Seattle's offense really starts to find a rhythm, and he did that.
Exactly. So I don't know which one to start with because they both have great storylines. I'll get my ranting out of the way.
Yeah.
Cowboys get throttled by Josh Dobbs, James Conner, and a bunch of no-names on the Arizona Cardinals. Look, I've said it on this podcast. I've told Bailey this. I've told people this. The red zone offense is some of the worst red zone offense I've ever seen in my life. Like the Jets game, I literally said, you do not settle for 5 field goals inside the 20-yard line.
We'll say that.
You got lucky because it was against the Jets. Giants week? Oh, the defense had just maybe one of the best defensive performances of all time. So I said it. I thought they would figure it out. Thought they would do it. But you let the goddamn Arizona Cardinals Josh Dobbs didn't turn the ball over. They didn't turn the ball over. And our quarterback that we're paying how much?
42 million a year.
Throws it right to a nobody in the red zone to end the game.
Guys, you're late.
A nobody. This whole team is nobodies. And I don't know how you lose this game when Tony Pollard played great.
We're calling them the Arizona nobodies from now on.
They're the Arizona nobodies. Like, the quarterback can't go get his own fucking jersey in the team store. Like, the starting quarterback for your football team can't get his goddamn jersey in a team store. And that dude proceeded to outplay Dak Prescott.
Yep.
Their defense was stifling for the majority of the game outside of Tony Pollard's kind of okay game. I thought Tony Pollard played great.
We're missing 3 offensive line starters.
Exactly. And that was another big concern, going in, missing 3 starters on the O-line. But again, I said,
Zach Martin.
we're playing a bunch of nobodies. It doesn't fucking matter. We're in Arizona. It's a vacation week. Bailey was right. Mike McCarthy is a terrible offensive coordinator. I'm fucking sick of it.
Already giving me credit 3 weeks in, you're 2-1.
Should be 0-3 if we play anybody else.
Oh, well, looking at it.
We play any good competition, we're 0-3.
That was not good competition.
If we play anyone other than the New York teams the first 2 weeks, we are 0-3. And it only gets worse from here. Because they get New England next week with the Belichick defense. I'm not looking forward to this weekend. Because of the defense that's going to get thrown to us. And then San Francisco the week after.
Yeah.
They look bad. Even the defense didn't show up. Like, I get it, losing Trayvon Diggs.
Parsons really well.
Like, losing Trayvon Diggs is huge, your starting corner. But you brought in a guy like Gilmore, who's been a number 1. I think Bland, right?
Ron Bland.
Ron Bland is fine. He can be a good second corner. Arizona, somehow, that goofball in Arizona schemed so well against our defense that it didn't matter that they had Josh Dobbs at quarterback. Because James Conner played well, they got dudes open, and they limited how much our pass rush could get after him, which I didn't think would happen. And what they have, Paris Johnson's their right tackle, right?
Yes.
You're up against Tank Lawrence or Micah Parsons every play. He looks great. So I'm like holding it in about how fumed I am about this game. Because it's up there. Because again, I don't know how you go into the red zone 3 times, throw a pick, and kick 2 field goals inside the 10-yard line. That's 21 points you left on the table that you scored 6. You win this game if you do that. Because then you limit how many possessions Arizona gets.
And you got 31.
Yeah, you win the game if those field goals are touchdowns and you don't throw a pick in the red zone to end the game. So I'm worried about this weekend, and I'm worried the rest of the way. It's not looking good. Like it's bad. This offense is bad. They need to just turn it over to Tony Pollard. But I don't know how you do that much more because he had 23 carries. They shut down CeeDee Lamb.
Over 4 pop.
Exactly.
Over 4.
He averaged 5.5, 5.3.
Jesus.
They limited CeeDee Lamb with a bunch of nobodies at corner because their best one's now in Minnesota. Michael Gallup had a fine game, but like this defense got no pressure. They had 2 sacks, and it was Tank Lawrence and Micah Parsons. But like for those 2 against this team, I expected 2.5 or 3 from a guy like Micah Parsons. Well, at least from a guy like Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
They looked so bad. They committed no turnovers. There was really no quarterback hurries. Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
They're a bad football team right now.
Yeah, I think a couple things. Watching the Giants last week and the Cowboys this week, teams are sleeping walking into these Arizona games. And New York clearly didn't show up ready to play, and Dallas clearly did not show up ready to play. And these Arizona teams have taken advantage of those. I mean, granted, they didn't win the Giants game, but they were up 20 at half, and they're getting leads going into halftime, and you're getting weird momentum swings in these games where Arizona shouldn't be gathering any momentum at all. And just the starts of the games have been so lackluster from the teams that they've been playing. I don't know whether to give credit to Arizona or to destroy New York and Dallas for how lackluster they looked in the first half. In saying that, James Conner was incredibly impressive. He's been phenomenal the first 3 weeks of the year. A huge surprise to me after he trashed with Kyle Murray for some reason. When they run the read option, their read option the last couple of years, granted with Kingsbury's offense, but it was garbage. It wasn't any good. And for Arizona to have not really a big name OC. I mean, Steve Wilkes is their DC. Gannon's was a defensive coordinator coming in. This team is known for its defense. For James Conner in this run game, it looks so good with a pretty trash O-line and Josh Dobbs at quarterback. It is significantly impressive. And he's breaking literally every tackle. The Giants are probably the worst tackling team on the face of the universe right now. And Dallas looked like one of the 10 worst tackling teams. Because James Conner just kind of made them all look puny, to be very frank. I agree with you on basically all the points you said. I think I don't know if I said this in the last one, but the loss of Kellen Moore is going to prove more and more hurtful to this Dallas offense the further the season goes on. And McCarthy's beat up on two easy ass New York teams so far, and that's honestly not even because of the offense. We said that the first 2 weeks. We said the defense was carrying. They were scoring a majority of their points. They're getting them into positive field position before Dak even touches the ball.
And they settle for field goals every damn.
And they've been settling for a lot of field goals. So that's a huge worry. The run game looked great, I thought, for no starters on the offensive line. But Gannon just straight up outcoached McCarthy this game. And I think that's the harsh but real takeaway for me here is that Gannon, granted, was the DC at Philly. He played him twice a year for a couple of years. He kind of knew how to come into this game, what he wanted to do, what he needed to do, just with a whole different set of talent. Literally went from
Clearly
the most talented team in the league, arguably, to literally the least talented team in the league, arguably.
And it was the same damn result.
And you kind of saw the same thing happen to Dallas's offense. They kind of shrunk up in a game that they should have clearly won. So hopefully I didn't bash too hard, but
no, but they deserve it.
Because I didn't want to just reiterate what you said. So I thought Arizona was spectacular. I think another thing that's been really surprising me is Dobbs' play because they have this run game. Dobbs actually hasn't been a bad quarterback, and he's looked better than Zach Wilson and Desmond Ridder through 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So for the lack of weapons that he has, for these guys that are getting wide open, I need to know who this OC is. Like, I've watched 2 of the 3 games now, and Zach Ertz is getting targets. Trey McBride is getting targets. They're running a lot of heavy sets, and it's really working. James Conner's been electric through 3 weeks. So
there you go.
Drew Petzing, never heard of him.
Spent the past 3 years in Cleveland, including last season as the QB coach with the Browns.
Okay.
So
not a stacked reputation then. So
not a good reputation.
But yeah, just I'm kind of at a loss for words. I think it's just a game where Dallas played down to Arizona's level, and Arizona just took advantage straight up. And I think the red zone is the biggest spot of worry right now. This McCarthy offense, where Kellen Moore's teams dominated in the red zone when they got there. McCarthy's have looked incredibly lackluster, and it needs to fix ASAP before San Francisco.
Exactly, and I don't know if this is the week to do it, especially playing New England, because that's our one big compliment for New England is how well their defense is playing right now.
And of course they're extremely well coached at Belichick.
So it's going to be an interesting one. I can assure you that. Chiefs Bears.
We're not going to talk about Taylor Swift.
I mean that's something to really talk about in this game.
Well, you can talk about it.
I mean, the Bears look terrible, but
because they are terrible.
Well, they are terrible, but
34-0 at half terrible.
Right.
Christ.
No, the only fun thing's Taylor Swift being there. That's what I took away from this game.
Yeah, she was there.
Taylor Swift was there.
That's what everyone took away.
She was invested in football. So, Swifties, welcome to the NFL.
Congratulations to the Chiefs organization. Travis Kelce jersey sales up 400%. Travis Kelce's just winning at life right now.
That's what he said. Yeah, the podcast.
On the podcast, did he say that?
He
Yeah.
does.
So
I think
congratulations.
I think the big man in case here is winning on and off the field.
Yeah.
So let's talk on the field.
Mhm.
The Bears are so bad.
I have no takeaway.
KC looked fine. They looked fine. They looked well oiled. They put up 34.5. I expected maybe a Miami-Denver kind of game, but light off the brakes a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not gonna add anything.
You don't want to talk about Justin Fields?
I don't have anything to say. Chicago's so bad. They're so bad.
Come on. I mean,
No, I literally have nothing to say that's gonna be. Andy Reid outcoached Matt Eberflus. Duh. Patrick Mahomes outplayed Justin Fields. Duh. Casey's offense looked way better.
Duh.
Casey's defense is still rolling. I think that's the one thing I have been impressed by. If there's anything, is Spagnuolo has been terrific through 3 weeks. When normally Casey's defense is middling, Casey's defense has been terrific. So I think that's maybe a takeaway. But Chicago's offense is so 1950s that I really can't get over it. Justin Fields is one of the 5 worst quarterbacks in the league right now.
It's Caleb Williams time, you think?
They're on pace for it. Congrats to them because they also have Carolina's pick. They might have the 1st and 2nd pick. We were thinking about maybe Arizona would get it from Arizona, Houston. It might be Chicago getting it with Chicago, Carolina.
And they get the deadliest combo of all time.
If they want Marvin Harrison.
TJ Edwards had 17 tackles, 2 for loss.
Good for him.
Good bright spot, and yeah, I'm not gonna keep going. Pittsburgh, Vegas to end the Sunday night, Sunday slate going into Sunday night. 23-18 win for the Steelers.
Save me in the pick'em.
Josh McDaniels is what the hell was he thinking? Why would you kick a field goal?
Did you watch it?
I did.
So explain.
So pretty much they get down. I think it was right
8. They're down 8.
They're down 8. I want to see how long the field goal was. Oh, 26-yard field goal. So they're inside the 10-yard.
On the 7 then.
Yeah,
Or on the 9.
They're within the 10-yard line. Jimmy Garoppolo, other than 3 picks, 2 were kind of just in garbage time, was playing fine. They looked fine. The logic he said was we're gonna have to get the ball back again anyway. And I sat there and I go, well, 6 plus 2 is 8. You're down 8.
Yeah, they're going to have to get the ball back in overtime.
Exactly.
Instead of the 4th quarter.
So why would you, for me, why kick the field goal, so then give it back to Pittsburgh, who had honestly
not been trash.
Matt Canada called probably his best game he's ever called, and that's saying something because they still didn't look great. Kenny Pickett looked fine.
They were not good offensive.
Yeah, I know, but they get the stop, and it's like, okay. But Pittsburgh had already gotten first downs. They already killed the clock. They get the ball with 13 seconds left, and they said, throw it up in a triple cover to Devontae Adams. Maybe we'll get another, miracle like against New England. Probably the dumbest play calling decision I've ever seen. I don't get why you don't go for it because it wasn't a long 4th down.
I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Yes.
So McDaniel's play call to kick the field goal down 8, or O'Connell's decision to not spike the ball with 50 seconds left.
I think field goal's stupid. I think field goal's worse because even if you get the ball back, you're getting the ball back with A, not a lot of time, and 2, you had already moved the ball all the way down there. It's 4th and goal. You have Devontae Adams against whoever the hell Pittsburgh had a corner of that game. I couldn't tell you who the corners are. Yeah, old ass Patrick Peterson, who's fine, but I think at least with the O'Connell stuff, I think you trust your weapons enough to just be like, I think we're good enough to just keep going. This clearly showed Mike McDaniels has no confidence in his offense right now. Sorry, Josh McDaniels.
Yeah.
Don't want it.
That's bad.
Josh
Josh
McDaniels.
Yeah.
Mike McDaniel. Oh, okay. Right. They're not related, clearly, because one put up 70 and one's a buffoon. I think this one's just so much more worse in a game that you didn't really have the momentum a lot of the way, and you were just starting to kind of get it back. You score a touchdown and get the 2. You forced Pittsburgh to go make a play, which they really hadn't done all year until this game.
Yeah.
So then let's say you get the ball back or play for overtime. I think you like your odds in overtime or getting the ball back. But instead you go, well, we're gonna have to get the ball back again anyway. No shit, Sherlock, in overtime, but you got to get there first.
Yeah.
So it's pitiful. I think Jimmy Garoppolo's played fine.
Yeah.
His numbers are kind of inflated because they were down a lot, but like
Status is up in the air for next week.
yeah, exactly. Concussion protocol, and maybe that's the thought process of like maybe on third down. I didn't see what happened on third down, but like maybe he got hit, and the medical staff's like, hey, he's got to come out, so you're not going to turn to.
Yeah, O'Connell.
Aiden O'Connell, yeah, I was like Purdue quarterback, 1, 2. So maybe that's the logic, but like you think after the game, he'd be like, yeah, Jimmy had a concussion on third down, so I kicked the field goal. But he said, nah, we're gonna have to get the ball back anyway.
His reasoning was freaking. There's 7-year-olds on Madden managing better games than Josh McDaniels.
Oh, better than both McDaniel and Matt Canada, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have a ton here. Pittsburgh's defense is still stifling. Even with Devontae Adams being able to do whatever the hell he wanted to do on the field that night. There's a reason why we still had him as a top 2 or 3 receiver on both of our lists coming into this year. And he's still the best route runner in the league. He just gets open constantly. And when he gets fed targets early, it's a long night for opposing defenses. But Vegas never made him pay. And Pittsburgh got a couple big plays offensively, and that's what they need to win games. If Pickett plays neutral, like 15th to 20th best quarterback in the league, Pittsburgh's going to be over 500 again this year because Tomlin's just so much better of a coach than any of these other buffoons out here running around, including Josh McDaniels. So there's a reason Pittsburgh's been over 500 for every single year that Tom's been here. I think this is year 22 now. So yeah, that's about it.
Nice. We're going to go to the Monday night games. I hate saying games.
Yeah.
Thank God it's over.
Yeah.
Start the first one, Philly-Tampa. Philly wins by double digits.
The brotherly shove.
Yeah, the brotherly shove, man. That thing's unstoppable. I think my takeaway from this is I think Philly has finally found what their identity is offensively, and it's getting DeAndre Swift way more involved and not necessarily putting all these games on Jalen Hurts. Because, like, I'm not going to lie, he hasn't looked impressive like he did last year. Not up to that tier. He's still been fine. He's played good defenses, but, like, I mean, 277, a touchdown, and 2 picks. Like, that's just uncharacteristic of Jalen Hurts. And it's like they leaned on the run game. I think his big thing is he's trying to force it to A.J. Brown, which is a little concerning because maybe that's where the 2 picks came from. I didn't watch this game, so I don't know how the picks got
One was a running back, kind of a C route from the running back slot that he threw too early because he thought it was a curl. So Swift went and cut into the middle of the field, threw it straight to a linebacker, so miscommunication there. And the other one was at it was A.J. Brown. So there you go.
Haha, it had some validity.
Yeah, I believe it is.
But yeah, I think the other thing too is just, I mean, Philly's defense is very good, so they get any leads in most of these games. I think they can hold on for the most part offensively.
Yeah.
Baker looked like Baker kind of old. I mean, the turnover, whatever kind of deal, but I mean, 15 of 25 for 146. They needed to rely more on the run game, but they clearly couldn't because of how good this front seven for Philly is. So it was like we said, they're going to make Baker go win this game, and he just couldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have a ton here. I mean, Baker's pick came right after Hurst's pick. So verticals concept, Baker was looking the left side of the field the whole time. God was wide open in the seam, just found him too late, gets tipped up in the air. A lot of miscommunications for Tampa offensively. Evans had just drop catch after drop catch after drop catch, and then makes one of the most insane one-handed catches I've seen in my life.
Yep.
So that's the story of Mike Evans. I still like Tampa as a team. I don't think this really offsets what they're doing. This is exactly what I expected. Philly still does not look clean offensively. Their run game looks gorgeous. But what Jalen Hurts is doing in the passing game hasn't been incredibly impressive so far. It's just been taking a lot of blown coverage, taking advantage of a lot of blown coverage, especially in the Minnesota game, and mainly to Devonta Smith. And then trying to get A.J. Brown involved this week, which the first 2 passing plays were to him, and he had 42 yards on the first 2 catches. So I think A.J. being more involved is good for them, of course. But this Philadelphia passing game hasn't looked as elite as it normally should. and the brotherly shove is the most unstoppable play in football history. So there you go.
We get Kelsey and Swift 2.0.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see what the next couple of weeks. Yeah. Thank you. I pride myself on that one. I'm kidding. I've seen it all over social media. It's a layup. Last Monday night game, Bengals Rams. Both decent defenses looked good.
Mm-hmm.
The quarterback plays both have looked not great.
Yeah, I was kind of staggered by McVay's play calling in this game.
I would say, yeah.
Probably one of the rare times I'll ever get on McVay on this podcast. He's a top 5 coach in the league for a reason. He's easily the top 5 offensive mind in the league. But just why they threw the ball so damn much. I mean, how many pass attempts did Stafford have?
33.
Yeah, but I mean that's not an absurd number. But
we've seen damn near 60 out of Stafford.
But yeah, but for such a neutral game, it seemed like they were passing on first and second down a ton. And they never got any momentum on any of the drives. And the Tutu Atwell touchdown being called back on a review I've watched 10 times and still don't have a definitive answer on why they overturned it, because it's not clear to me. And honestly, I mean, you add 4 points to their score, that's why they lose this game. But I mean, LA's defense looked really good. Burrow still doesn't look healthy. I think he needs to hit the short-term IR pronto, but it doesn't seem like that's going to happen.
I mean, you heard his dog mentality.
I don't really care what his mentality is. He doesn't look normal, and the decision making is slower, and the offense isn't nearly like they were force feeding Chase over.
I was gonna say this was the first week this year. Like it felt like Jamar Chase was like a bigger part of this offense. I mean, 12 for 141 is.
I believe 14 targets, and I mean, granted, because T. Higgins was just dropping the ball constantly, which is super frustrating to watch. But the way they were aligning Chase, normally Chase is permanently on the outside. Boyd permanently dominates the slot, and Higgins is on the other side. Like it's really clear cut along Cincy's offense where they are going to and where people are going to be aligned in that offense. And they moved Chase all the way. They treated Jamar Chase like Justin Jefferson. They were moving him all over across formations, which I think is good for them.
Yeah.
It was more fun to watch. It's much more versatile. But Burrow seemed still behind on the reads, and it feels like he's playing a lot of catch up. And I don't know if that's still because of the health. I think the health is a big issue because he does rely on the mobility to at least just step up in the pocket, and that's where he likes to take off.
Mm-hmm.
Is once that pocket collapses, he just creeps forward towards the line of scrimmage, and then he finds the A gaps and takes off a little bit. And he still seems really hesitant and conservative. So while Chase, the 12 for 141 is impressive, and I'm happy they're getting him involved, I wasn't necessarily impressed with what Cincy was doing offensively.
Exactly. I was going to say, I don't think either one of them really showed offensively anything special or anything that was like, oh, they're back. Yeah. The offenses are back for these teams. Again, I think both defenses played great. Hubbard and Hendrickson were after Stafford all night. Yeah. They were after him all night. Aaron Donald was making plays. Yeah, the defenses really both shine in this game. And
insane pick from Witherspoon.
Right.
It was crazy.
Like, just, that was one of the better reads because it looked like, because he was, it was T. Higgins?
Yeah, I think so.
I thought T. Higgins had a catch. And then you just watch Witherspoon, like, come over.
Yeah.
And just kind of like, didn't look like he ripped the guy, just like, took it.
Yeah.
Like, one of them were like,
split his arm there.
It was like it was like a weird physics thing. I was like, what the hell? Like, how's that physically possible? Yeah, optical illusion. Like, how is that even possible?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I will always ride or die with players for their mentalities. I love that Joe Burrow's like, I would rather play 80% than go 0-3.
I think that's cool.
But long-term wise, if they're going to make a run, I think if they get a stretch where they have, I don't want to say cupcakes. Yeah. But we'll call them cupcakes. If there's ever a stretch they have this year, maybe you sit over only playing like a half.
I think you just make them week to week. And you don't have to put them on short-term IR, but you got to play it by ear. And I don't know. Something is off. There's a lack of reps. There's a lack of something that's missing from Cincinnati through week 3 that Granted, they never been great through week 3, and they normally pick it up towards the back half of the year and become really explosive when teams really like to slow the pace down.
Mhm.
And it's kind of just like a huge switch that Cincinnati flips compared to where other teams like to flip the switch off, and they like to go more ground and pound. And Cincy's like, screw that, we're just gonna air it out even more, and it's really interesting to watch. But yeah, something's amiss.
Exactly. Shall we pick week 4?
Okay.
All right. Lions Packers on Thursday Night Football.
Day 12. Even though Goff is one of the worst quarterbacks like ever when he plays outside instead of in a dome.
The weather's supposed to be
I
good.
just think Ben Johnson and his offense are just going to out scheme what LaFleur is going to do with this defense, and that Detroit's playmakers are going to step up when need to. I think Laporta is due or not due. I think he's going to continue and ride the momentum he's had through week 3, and Amon-Ra's one of the 7 best receivers in the league.
Exactly. I think they're really going to maybe expose this Packers defense more than some of these other teams have this year. Like if Atlanta can do it, I think Detroit will really expose it. So that's why I'm going Detroit.
Yep.
The London game. We get a London game to start the year. I sure shit ain't waking up at 7:30 for it, but we got a London game.
Watch the highlights.
I mean, we could watch the Toy Story pod, simulcast.
Nice.
Not at 7:30 in the goddamn morning. I'm not.
Not down for some Toy Story at 7:30 a.m.
It'll be like me thinking I woke up high. Like, oh, is this really like, am I really watching Trevor Lawrence play in Andy's bedroom right now? Am I watching Bijan play with the aliens from Pizza Planet right now? No. All jokes aside, this is pretty much a Jacksonville home game because it's London. It almost feels like anyone they play over in London, they win. So I'm gonna take Jacksonville.
I'm also taking Jacksonville. Like I said, I think this is where Atlanta, you're gonna see the record go from 2-1 to like 2-4.
Kind of last year.
Yeah, almost exactly like last year. I honestly don't know if they're better than Houston. I honestly don't know if they're better than Washington. I honestly don't know if they're better than Tampa. So even though their schedule is straight up cupcakes, if you get up early, they're going to be screwed. I think Jacksonville's offense, I think this is a nice bounce back spot for them after struggling the past 2 weeks with Houston and whoever the hell they played week 2.
KC.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Vikings, Panthers in Carolina. I'm feeling a revenge game. Doesn't matter. I think Minnesota's purely a better team.
Yep.
I really don't care who's at quarterback. I don't care if Andy Dalton's throwing it 60 times. I like Minnesota.
I completely agree here. We're gonna bet the spread. I tease it down a hair.
Yep.
So you get the field goal coverage because for some reason Minnesota will just play it close for whatever reason. But yeah, I totally agree. Minnesota's weapons should like Jefferson's due for. He's been getting 150 plus. He's averaging 150 yards a game right now, and I think 150 might be the floor in this game.
Exactly.
Vikings should run shot over these guys, Minnesota.
Do you want to call this one your game of the week or?
You can have it.
Well, I have another one in mind. So.
Okay, I'll take it then.
Miami Dolphins playing the Buffalo Bills. I have a.
No, you take this one. I take a different one.
Okay. I have a feeling it'll be the one I'm thinking maybe, but maybe not. I think Miami's so hot right now, and Buffalo's kind of just played subpar teams. I think this could be a real culture shock to Buffalo.
Yeah.
That maybe they're not where Miami is right now. They are favored. I mean, they're at home, so they get 3, so really it's kind of just evens. But I think for me, Buffalo's best home field advantage is when it's cold.
Yep.
Because those people are nuts in Buffalo. This is a 11 o'clock game on a Sunday.
And it'll limit Miami's speed.
Exactly. I think they got the worst draw of them getting Miami early in the year. Because you've seen it every year when they have to play in the cold. I mean, Dolphins don't play in the cold.
Yeah.
Like, come on. They don't live in the cold.
Don't like the ice.
I think Miami might boat race Buffalo. I think this might be double digits. I don't see a way they stop Miami's offense.
I'm riding the same boat.
I never thought you. Because we love Buffalo. I love Buffalo Bills. I love Josh Allen. I love Diggs. They have had cupcake games, and I'm not saying Miami's had like tough games by any means, but like played New England. Played the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm drinking the Miami Kool-Aid.
Yes, sir.
Heavy. They scored 36 against the Chargers. They fumbled a goal line snap on the first drive. They had missed opportunities in that game. They're on pace to maybe be Up there with the '07 Patriots offensively, they're so disgusting.
They're so much fun to watch.
And even though, and this is going to be a test for Buffalo's offense to keep pace and for Buffalo's defense to keep them within range. It's such an interesting game. I understand why. Is it Buffalo minus or Miami? Buffalo minus
Buffalo
2.5.
Master.
I could see this game being very close, but I could also see this game being 41-20 in Miami's favor. I think, like exactly like you said, I don't know how much of a home field advantage this is for Buffalo because it's not going to be cold. It's going to be fairly warm. Miami's going to be out and running, and the speed is going to be able to take advantage. There's not slippery turf, nothing like that. They're going to be out and running just full bore. And it's going to be scary. Like Buffalo could barely beat them with Skylar Thompson. Now they're getting Tua healthy, Tyreek healthy.
With this offense
going to play, and everything seems to be running smoothly for Miami. I'm going to take them until they lose.
All right, so that's going to be a fun game.
How about you? That's not game of the week. That's like consensus. But
Consensus. That's very fair. My game of the week. I'm just kidding.
This is mine.
Broncos Bears.
Yeah, it's gonna be 6-3, but it's gonna be the most ridiculous 6-3 on the face of the earth.
This game should be a Wednesday 3 a.m. flex. This should be the London game.
I'm just kidding. It's not mine.
I was gonna say, I pray to God this really isn't yours.
I can't sell this crap.
This should have been the London game because they make so much money off these goddamn London games that this game actually would get the NFL maybe some money.
Mm-hmm.
But the worst product of field, the worst show on turf, I'm gonna call this game. I don't know.
The 99 Rams.
I don't know who the hell is gonna win, but I do know one thing. I trust almost any quarterback more than Justin Fields. And I think Denver's defense is okay. Obviously, they just got steamboat by Miami. Pat Surtain,
say the 78 from Miami doesn't help.
Yeah, the 70-20 doesn't really help me. But I almost feel like that's going to fuel Denver in this game. I mean, Buffalo, Chicago also got embarrassed on national TV. But I trust Russell Wilson more than I do Justin Fields. Because who the hell do the Bears have defensively that's going to stop anything?
Yeah.
And at least on Denver's side on defense, I go Pat Surtain, unless he's playing speed, will stop.
Like there's legit talent there.
Yeah, there's talent in Denver. There is no, and I mean no talent in Chicago.
Yeah.
No, they just let dudes walk in and steal their field equipment. How the hell are they supposed to block for Justin Fields? How are they supposed to draw plays to get Justin Fields playing it? Oh, wait, they do.
Mm-hmm.
He just doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
So give me the Broncos. This might get ugly.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Game of the week.
I
feel like you actually said that game of the week.
It's not.
I know, but like, no one's believing that shit.
I really don't know what to say. This is the Bears, in my opinion. Like the only way this game could be worse is if it was Panthers Bears, maybe.
That's a stretch.
But at least Dalton's like out there slinging it a little bit. Russell's been slinging it. Actually, Russell has been playing like halfway decent football, so I'm gonna take Denver here, just because I think the combination of Peyton and Russell actually, even though they're 0-3, it has been.
Their offense looks fine,
but it's improved over Nathaniel Hackett, even though they're losing games.
Anyone can do that.
Yeah. Which isn't saying much. Chicago is a freaking train wreck.
Dumpster fire, shit show.
Yeah.
You could use any negative connotation, and it would make sense.
I would maybe go bet Pat Surtain to have a pick this game, even though Chicago only throws the ball 15 times a week. Fields is bound to
15 picks, but
make a bad. Yeah. Fields is bound to make a bad read. So maybe a Surtain interception is in line after he got burnt by Robbie Chosen.
The Chosen,
the tail end of 63-20 to make it 7-20.
I was gonna say, did it matter?
Yeah, this game, the range of outcomes for Broncos Bears is so wide. This game could be 41-36, or it could be 6-3, or freaking 8-12 on six
That's
safeties.
the worst part. It's either gonna be.
I have no idea what I'm gonna get.
Which
is why I'm slightly intrigued, but also why after watching 2 drives, I'd already know I'm gonna turn this.
Guess the over under. I thought we were spending this much time on this game, but over under
39.5.
46.
What?
Over under for Caesar Sportbook is 46.
It's 24-20. So basically 20 is 46.5.
46.
Flat. So basically they're guessing 24-21-ish.
Yep.
There's no way in hell.
I don't know how any of the
Correction. Denver putting up.
I was gonna say correction. Denver might put up 46.
They could.
But yeah. Next, Browns Ravens. Browns hosting. Cleveland favored by 3.
Yes. I picked Cleveland, if I remember correctly. Taking Cleveland here. I just think with the way their defense has been playing, if Watson just doesn't turn the ball over, and they shouldn't against this Baltimore defense that is just so injury prone right now. I look for the Browns running game to bounce back a little bit, which would help Watson out, and Amari Cooper to dominate some corners here. I like Cleveland. Yeah,
this one's tough. I believe I picked Baltimore before this. I do like Cleveland. I think this will be a good game. I don't know if it's gonna be
a low score.
I don't know if it'll be my game. Like I like what you said though. I think Cleveland's defense is very good.
First time in a while.
Yeah.
On paper, they've been a great defense, especially when they got the John Johnson signing from LA after they won the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
People were kind of amping them up a little bit. They had the JOK draft pick. And now JOK is blossoming into a fantastic linebacker. And was an honorable mention, I believe, on our linebacker list coming into the year. But yeah, sorry.
No, you're good.
The first time has been terrific in a while.
Yeah. I think Lamar could give them fits because they haven't played against a running quarterback.
They haven't been able to stop Lamar historically.
Yeah. I think that's one of the bigger confidence things for me. I think this could be another time for Baltimore's defense to maybe bounce back, especially if Cleveland is going to rely on the run a little more. I think that could be where I think of anything for Baltimore, the front 7 is fine.
Yeah.
Their secondary is god awful. So if Cleveland kind of goes towards the passing game, I think that's when Baltimore can lose this game. But I think Cleveland will rely on the run more. I think Lamar will have a pretty good game, hopefully.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm gonna pick Baltimore here in the upset according to the spread. Pittsburgh, Houston. I'm gonna take Pittsburgh just because who the hell is gonna block TJ Watt and who's gonna stop this defense? Because really, Houston's defense hasn't been anything special.
Yeah.
So I think this could be another good showing from Matt Canada.
Back to back.
That shit. It's hard to go back to backs, but he might just do it. I think it's a little like the Steelers are my favorite by 3. They are on the road though.
Yep.
Just because I don't see how Stroud can move the ball in this game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm going Pittsburgh too. I expect TJ Watt. Right now is my defensive player of the year.
Yep.
He's my pick for defensive player of the year to start the year. It's between him and Parsons, I think. I think it's going to be a pretty incredible race because both started out kind of slow. Granted, he's still been terrific and he's getting double teamed at a ridiculous rate. So, but that aside, I'm also going to go Pittsburgh here. CJ Stroud's going to have a hell of a time with these Tomlin blitz packages, I think. I think it's just that even though Houston's coming in with actually a fair amount of momentum, the first time they've had momentum probably since Deshaun Watson and those winning seasons. I just think Pittsburgh's defense is too much to handle here, and maybe Houston's defense can score some points here for them, and that would really help them out. But I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, for sure. I'm interested what your game of the week is now. I thought you were going to take Baltimore Cleveland.
No. Is that your pick?
No.
Okay.
So I'm worried we have the same one. However, Rams Colts. Indy favored by 1. I'm going to go Rams just because I don't know if Anthony Richardson's going to play. It's sounding like he's going to play. But even if he does play, even though we were hyping him up because they beat Baltimore, I think the Rams are a very good team. I think the defensive side of the ball for the Rams will kind of give maybe some fits to Anthony Richardson, specifically Aaron Donald. I don't know how his offensive line is going to hold up with that. So I'll take with what I know is going to show this week and go Rams.
I'm gonna go Colts here.
Alright.
I'm assuming Richardson is gonna play, and I think the strengths of LA, which is Donald in that front seven, can kind of be negated by how Steichen runs his offense when Richardson plays. It's gonna be a lot of strength on strength. But I think Richardson in this run game, much like how it was with Philly, even though the line isn't nearly as good and Richardson is a little more raw than Jalen Hurts, of course. But I think the Bull run game up front is going to really help out if Richardson does play. So I'll take Indianapolis.
Nice. Tampa, New Orleans.
I'm going Tampa here. I just think with
Carr not playing.
I don't even think it's that for me. I think if Carr was playing, I'd still take Tampa.
Nice.
I just think I like their front seven more. I like Bulls' defensive game plans more. I think they're more aggressive. They're more suited to creating turnovers, which is what helps Baker out. And I think Winston could be throwing a lot of picks this game just because that's just like his
30 for 30.
Yeah, that's just how his brain works. So even though I do like Winston as a quarterback, especially as a backup, I think he's probably the best backup in the league, even though week 3 didn't show that. I'm just going to ride with Tampa and the weapons there. It should be a fun game, though. It's going to be a low score.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be definitely a low score. I'm also going Tampa. I think maybe getting Alvin Kamara will keep this kind of closer for the Saints, getting him back. But like you mentioned, that front seven is probably the best in football right now. At least they're playing like it right now.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to be able to stifle Kamara, who hasn't played for the first 3 weeks. So I'll go Tampa as well. Commanders, Eagles. Eagles next. Bengals, Titans. I will trust Joe Burrow over Ryan Tannehill any day of the week.
Flopping.
I think I'm going to flop here. I do think this could be a big game for Derrick Henry. But after seeing who did Tennessee? Cleveland,
Yeah.
seeing what Amari Cooper did against that secondary, that would make, I think, anyone nervous just because of how many weapons since he does have. Jamar P. Higgins.
Yeah.
I'm going to flip-flop from what I said earlier. I'm definitely going Bengals in this one. I just don't trust Ryan Tannehill right now. Again, I think that front seven's elite. I think they could give Burrow some fits in the pocket, which could keep them in this game. But I like Cincy.
Yeah, I mean, since he's not going to have any run game.
Yep, that's for sure.
But with how porous Tennessee's secondary is, Chase and Higgins Burrow should have much easier reads this game, I think.
As long as he's not pressured.
As long as he's not pressured. And I think Taylor's going to have some quick hitters. I think where Chase is extremely underrated is his yards after the catch ability. And I think he needs to be utilizing more screens in that fashion. And his ability to take a screen from 2 yards to 13, 15, 17, like that, I think is something that could get this offense going when the short pass game extends into bigger yards, much like how McDaniel and Shanahan's offense works. You want those free yards, so allowing Chase and Higgins to take advantage of those in the short pass game should help Cincinnati out a ton here.
So you're picking
Cincinnati.
Nice. Raiders, Chargers.
Game of the week.
Ah, okay. Elaborate.
Game of the week. Chargers always keep it close, and I think with how trash the Chargers secondary is, and honestly how really good Myers and of course Adams has been over the first 3 weeks. I don't really care if Garoppolo plays this game. I think if Garoppolo plays this game, it's gonna be closer. But I don't hate Aiden O'Connell, especially when he has these weapons. And LA always manages and finds a way to keep it close,
especially against the Raiders.
So divisional matchup where basically the Raiders will be playing a home game because it's in SoFi. And the Chargers have no fans. So you can't really spot LA the -3 because they're playing at home. I will be picking the Chargers to win this game, of course. I still think Herbert is much better than anything else. Whatever, and I think Eckler is going to play this week. Yeah. So I think the run game is going to be much more potent. Kellen Moore's going to go back to running the ball a little bit more. But they lost that Miami game when they ran the ball. So I think this could be an interesting game. The game of the week is, of course, Miami-Buffalo. But if I had to take a second stab at it, I think I'd go Raiders-Chargers.
Nice. Well, we'll go to my game of the week. Patriots-Cowboys. Chargers. I said Chargers, right?
Oh, okay.
I'm going Patriots Cowboys as my game of the week. I think it's going to be interesting how these two defenses play out against each other. I think it'll be very low scoring if Dallas plays the way they have been in the past. And I really don't see that changing against the Patriots. But I also don't think the Patriots have played a defense like the Cowboys this year. And the one time they did, it was the Jets. I think I had like 15 points.
Yep.
I have enough faith in Dallas's offense that they'll put up more than 15. So I'll go Dallas with the win here, and this is my game of the week.
Yeah, before I pick, I would like to know Martin Smith questionable. So I'd like to know the status of Dallas's offensive line coming into this game, but I'm still gonna go Dallas here. I think if the starters do play, I think this is double digits for Dallas. I think this is actually a really nice bounce back spot for them, a place where their defense can get a couple turnovers, get Dak in that positive field position again, and kind of just keep moving the ball on, continue for them. It's a home game.
They play so much. Dak plays so much better at home. It's ridiculous.
Totally agree. I think even if the starters aren't there, I expect Pollard to be dominant in this game. He's been fantastic through 3 weeks. So I actually like Dallas by double digits here.
Nice. I didn't have that much confidence in him.
As much as I hate to say it, I think it's a really nice bounce back spot.
Yeah. My almost game of the week. Just kidding. Cardinals Niners. Niners, however,
14 is a hefty spread.
I think the Cardinals will
cover.
Keep it. I think they'll cover. 14's aggressive.
14 is, especially after they beat Dallas.
And like,
14.
This will truly show me if the Cardinals are actually something. If they keep this close, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll take them for the spread. But I mean, San Francisco's gonna win.
This game, I think it's rare that happens, but this game's going to be one in the first half. With how Arizona kind of explosively plays in the first half. We saw that against New York, we saw that against Dallas, and how San Fran kind of just likes to control the clock and, kind of just really just kill their opponents slowly. But then you kind of look up at the score, it's 21-3.
Yeah.
And you're kind of just like,
the Giants game.
What the hell happened?
Yeah.
Right. So exactly like the Giants game. So, I just think San Francisco's going to dominate it. Even though 14 is hefty, I'd actually probably bet San Fran minus 14.
Damn. There you go. Well, I'll know what I'll be doing Sunday night. I will be doing homework and not watching this game. Usually it's homework during the game, during the commercial breaks. That sure shit ain't happening this week. KC plays the New York Football Jets. Gave me Kansas City by 9.5 is very generous.
I think it is too.
I think the Jets defense is fine, but you want to know where they do struggle? Their secondary.
Yeah.
You want to know who they're playing against?
Sauce hasn't played great this year.
Yeah. I'm making my quick look good. But Kansas City doesn't run the ball, and that's the thing the Jets pride themselves on, stopping the run. This could be a classic Patrick Mahomes 350 and 4 touchdown kind of game. This could be a Travis Kelce 10 catches, 11 catches for 120 and 2.
Yeah.
Give me the Chiefs by damn near 20. I don't think it's close.
I like at least 14 here. I actually was kind of expecting the San Fran and the Jets spreads to be flipped.
Yeah.
Honestly, or more evened out, like 11 each. Closer than what it is. Because like KC, New York's freaking terrible offensively. Granted, their defense is good. And then,
like we were mentioning, KC's defense has played so well.
Arizona just beat Dallas, and now they're going in to play another really tough team, granted on the road this time. So I guess if you flip the home and away, they would be pretty even. So maybe I'm wrong in saying that, but yeah, KC easy here. This is gonna be a Travis Kelce feast.
I was gonna say it's the only way I would watch it. The reason I'd watch is I have Travis Kelce on my fantasy team. 2 is Taylor Swift gonna be there, and 3
is
she gets to see him steal the show in Kansas City, and now steal it in the Big Apple.
Yeah,
just like her. I would purely only watch this to see how much fun it is to watch Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes cook.
Yeah. This is. I think this is
classic
prime time Mahomes Kelce. They always dominate on prime time. Like even when they play quote unquote bad last year, when Kelce had 29 yards, he had 4 touchdowns that game.
Was
So
that the
Raiders game.
Raiders game? Yeah.
the Raiders game. And then the other primetime game, they played the Chargers, and he had like 12 for 150 and two, including the game-winning touchdown. And then he had another one on top of that. So, this is all lining up to be Mahomes, Kelsey freaking show off, and Kelsey will probably have double-digit catches, triple-digit yards, and probably the anytime touchdown.
That's what I love to hear. Love to hear it. Seahawks, Giants. The more and more I think about this one, the Giants are going to have damn near a week and a half, almost 2 weeks to prep for Seattle. But we saw it. This offense is really stagnant without Saquon Barkley. He's not going to be playing in this game, so I'm going to go Seattle.
He's not. He's ruled out.
I think he's.
That's questionable.
I thought
Either way,
I mean,
yeah, it is a high ankle sprain. So I think
if anyone was to come back after a week of a high ankle
Yeah.
sprain, it would be Saquon Barkley.
yeah,
But let's say he does play, he won't be 100%.
yeah, I agree. Jesus, this is a straight up pick 'em. You're going Seattle.
Don't say you're going to pick the New York Giants. I know we want to have different picks every once in a while, but for the love of God, the New York Giants.
Convince me then.
I just think Seattle's more explosive offensively right now. I think the Giants' defenses look lackluster, to say the least. Specifically, I think the Arizona game, they did not look great. And who did they play week 2?
They played Arizona week 2. They played Dallas week 1. San Fran week 3.
I mean, San Francisco, they looked fine. I just think offensively they don't have much.
Yeah.
And like Seattle's defense hasn't been great by any means, but I think Daniel Jones will play fine. I just think there's no way this defense can stop what Seattle has offensively. And Geno's returned to New York, so.
Geno's returned to New York.
And they're playing the night after the Jets in the same stadium.
I'll walk through my thought process here a little bit. I think I agree with most of what you're saying there. For coming into week 4 for a team that I've actually been betting in the Giants, at least I have their over on the year. I don't know jack about this team because I know they can't beat any good teams, but they've played literally 2 of the 4 or 5 best teams in the league so far this year. One was a massacre, and then the other one was a slow death against San Francisco.
Slow but painful.
And then the Arizona game, I don't even know what to take away from that game. I think if Dayball is calling the plays, this team is a lot better. And you saw them have to go to really heavy sets. I don't think Seattle has an insane pass rush that should worry the Giants' offensive line a ton. I think there's a reason this game's a pick 'em.
Yeah, definitely.
Christ. I do like the cornerback matchups in favor of Seattle, just because of the lack of the Giants' weapons. I think Barkley does play. If they're going to rush him, it is going to be this game because it's a Monday nighter. They have the 10 days rest. Like you said, they get the game plan. I'll pick the Giants.
Next week they play Miami, if that's going to sway you.
My huge worry is the fact that I don't know if they're going to be able to tackle Kenneth Walker. And that's a huge concern, in my opinion. If they can stop Seattle's run game and make Walker stagnant, I do like their chances. If they can't do that, and Mark and Wink can't drop anything that confuses Geno or gives him different, more exotic blitz looks like he's known to give, this is going to be a catastrophe of the game. But, I mean, Jesus Christ. I wouldn't bet this game. I wouldn't touch this game with a 99.5 football.
Oh, yeah. No way. No way. I think the other thing to look at, I think if they are going to rush him back, I think I would agree it would be Seattle. But, like, next week they have Miami. So you don't want to rush him back for that game, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's like, at what point do you go, let's rush him back? I mean, then they got the Bills. They have such a tough stretch.
Like, you could play this game, and then you sit him the Miami game, you sit him the Buffalo game.
They have their bye at week 7.
Yeah, and then you
So-
have bye, right? So, the Giants are in such a weird spot because their schedule's so front loaded. They're literally playing
And then they
for
play,
the 6 best teams
and then they play the Jets after the
early.
Bills.
So, I do think one other thing that we haven't touched about is Seattle's tackles are still out. So this could be a huge Thibodeau game. We haven't seen him show up a ton yet.
Yeah.
And I want to see Wink send more pressure.
Yeah.
He's got to send more pressure, make these people guess more, because that's what he was so great at last year, was designing looks, and then
And they brought in Isaiah
discovering-
Simmons for
yeah,
that.
exactly. And discovering when and when not to send pressure. Their timing hasn't been as expertise or crisp as it was last year. So I think that's gonna be really. I'll take New York, but I don't love it.
You don't love it.
No, not loving it. Yeah.
Damn. I just previewed week 5 a little bit.
Yeah. Get ugly.
For our
A lot of
teams,
teams on
for
bye.
our team specifically.
Oh yeah, we play KC.
And
Yeah.
so next week, in 2 weeks, we might not be in the best moods after our games.
It's gonna get ugly.
Damn.
This is week 4. This is week 4.
Can you
So
believe we're
we're flying, man.
flying to the 4th of the season?
I know it's flying by. But stay tuned with NFL content. Follow us on Instagram at Hero Podcast, HRDL Podcast. We're trying to post every time we drop an episode. Trying to keep up with that. We're also
Cool.
Yeah, school. We're also gonna the reels are gonna be more NBA based. So the Dame trade just happened, so we'll have something out on the Dame trade, and then some baseball playoff content coming in for you guys. So
Brewers
that's
just
all gonna
clinched.
be there. And then yeah, Brewers just clinched. Acuna just had 40-70 tonight, so first player to ever do that. And then of course Montana State football, college football.
Yes,
That
sir.
podcast is dropping every week. Following up a 40-0 win on the road, which this man was at. So,
What a fun game.
we'll be talking about that very soon. So follow us for all that. If you're interested in like any of that, we'll be posting content about it over the next few weeks or so. And yeah, subscribe to the channel. Give us your MVP favorite
Ooh.
through week 3. Right now it's Tua.
I was gonna say right now it's 2, right? That was the same deal last year.
Right now it's 2 in the books, but yeah, exactly. Last year was 2 through 3 weeks too. So, give us your MVP favorite, who you like to win MVP, through 3 weeks, and yeah, I think that's gonna do it.
Yes, sir.
Bailey, week 3 recap, week 4 picks. That's it. Peace, guys.
That's it.